everybody, Creative Katie, Karen Burchill here. Welcome to my channel. Today we have a mixed media tutorial and I'm going to be using these cardboard coasters. Now I got these off Amazon in bulk. I think I got 100 of them and I'll put a link to that. But if you only want a few, you can get them at NinnysNapkins.com and there's a link in the description box as well. Now, if you were actually making coasters, you can buy wooden coasters, and I'll talk more about that later. So these are cardboard coasters. They are the same ones that you get at bars and restaurants, and their goal is to soak up moisture, and you need to be aware of that. I'm going to use 4 of them for this fall wall hanging. Now, I'm going to attach them, so I need to punch holes in them. So I traced the coaster and figured out where the holes were going and made myself a template. And this is just going to save time. It's going to make sure that everything's perfectly aligned. It's just going to make life simpler. So I need 2 on the top and the bottom and 4, 1 in each corner, in the 2 middle ones. If you are doing a word that's longer, you're going to have to figure that out. So I'm just tracing the circles. So I'm marking where I am going to put holes in these coasters. Now they are paper, they're cardboard, so they're not intended to, withstand a lot. If I was doing these out of the wood ones, if that's what you have in your stash, I would make the template, mark the holes, and I would use a drill and a drill bit the right size to drill them. So whatever you have, you can use. So once I mark them, I'm going to, before I do any of the work, puncture the holes. Now I can use an awl. That's what this is. It's a short, small, pokey little tool. Or you can use a nail. Make sure you put like a magazine underneath. But I thought, I'm going to try using a hole punch. Now it fits over. It doesn't, you can't quite close it. But if I press hard and I kind of twist, like you see me doing here, it does cut it. The reason I'm doing this now as opposed to at the end, if something goes awry and it rips or falls apart, I haven't lost all the work. So I highly recommend doing any of the hole punching now. So again, I just put it on the hole, the mark that I've made, press and then twist and it comes off. You want to make sure that you have a little bit of cardboard around the edges, not too close to the edge. Later in the video, I will be talking about other ways of using these cardboard coasters. If you decide to go with the bulk purchase through Amazon, or if you have a lot of these, it's great to have ideas of ways to use them. But I'm going to reiterate that it is really important to punch the holes, all the holes you need, before you do any of the work. Because it's mixed media. We're going to add layers to this, and that's just going to make it harder to hole punch later. Plus you risk wrecking it. So what I'm going to do now is give this a good coat of gesso. This is kind of going to seal the cardboard coaster. Now remember, the cardboard coaster's purpose in life is to absorb moisture. So it needs a lot of dry time. So when I'm putting on the gesso or putting on paint or whatever I'm putting on it, it is going to be absorbed into the coaster, and that's going to weaken it until it's completely dry. So you need to allot time to dry. I'm making sure that the gesso goes on the edges. I did not put gesso on the back side. You could, that would kind of seal it. I just didn't think it was necessary. And I'm giving this a good dry with my heat tool, and I'm putting the heat on the underside as well as the top side to dry it. Now I want to make this a fall themed home decor item, and I have this napkin. It's a fall forest, beautiful colors. There's some teals and greens, yellows and oranges, and I love the colors. I made an art journal page from this. I'll link that video. But I'm not going to make another page so similar, but I love the colors, as I said. So I'm going to use the napkin for the beautiful colors. I'm putting fluid matte medium down, then I place the napkin, and I'm using saran wrap. And this helps remove the wrinkles without ripping the paper. If you just put your finger on it, I guess the friction, sometimes you'll rip the napkin. But with the saran wrap, there's less friction because it's smooth, and you can get rid of the wrinkles, and I have yet to have it where I end up ripping the napkin. And then once it's smooth, I'm giving it a coat of fluid matte medium on top, and then setting it aside to dry. And then I'm using pretty much the same part of every napkin, although I'm rotating it a little bit to get some variation. Now you could paint them whatever color you wanted. I am just fast tracking the colorization of it by using something that I have in my stash, which is the napkin. And I love these colors. Teal with the orange is really in right now. So I'm just doing the same, and I'm not worried about the holes. Later on I go and punch out just that napkin part. So I'm doing this on all 4 of the coasters, following the same process. Fluid matte medium, put the napkin down, use the saran wrap to get rid of the wrinkles, and then put a coat of fluid matte medium. Now I'm just cutting off the excess, getting, fairly close, making sure that all the edges are fully adhered, adding a little or fluid matte medium, and then I'm using a sanding block to sand off any of the excess napkin. I've seen people using emery boards that they get from Dollar Tree, so use what you can. This did take more time than I thought it would. But one by one, I just got them done, and it got them perfectly done. Now, I had some white space on here, which I didn't like. So I'm using my Inktense blocks, which are ink that can reactivate, or you activate it with water and then it becomes permanent. And I'm just colorizing it and deepening that teal color. I've done a whole lot of fall home decor items, and some of them have this teal, so I just want everything to go together. You can use teal acrylic paint, just thin it down and give it a wash where you want it. I like the intensity of the yellows and the orange and the red on this. Then I'm going to do 2 things. One, I'm going to paint all the edges black because I don't want to see the white. And I'm going to use my angle brush with black acrylic paint and edge or shade around the edge to frame this coaster. And this black around the edge just really sets it off. You can see the difference right here. So, as I said, I'm going to be doing this with all 4 of the coasters. Now, this would be good. I'm going to put the word fall on this. You could do autumn. You could do a child's name and hang it in their bedroom or on their doorknob. So once everything is edged and shaded, I am splattering with gold and giving this a lot of time to completely dry. Splatters take a little longer to dry. But I'm loving the vibrant colors that this napkin has given me, this Insta background. So I've found a font that I like, and I adjusted the size to make it as big as what I needed, and I printed them off, and I cut them out, and now because it's not exactly dark enough black, I'm just using a makeup sponge and black darkening it. Because I want it to be really dark. And here you can see the difference between just the copy and once that I painted. Now I just did this on copy paper, but you could do it on mixed media paper or watercolor paper if you want. So there are my letters and the background, and I just marked the center to center the letters on. And once I have it in the right place, I'm just gluing it down with some more fluid matte medium. And then I'm lining up each letter in succession, and while I've marked the middle, I'm also looking at the one above because I want it to flow together. I'm not going to worry if it's not exactly perfectly centered, as long as it's close enough. I think this would make a great project, you know, if you want to do it with your children. They can use napkins or paint and paint the thing and then put their name on it. How cute would that be? What fun. So then I remembered I had these maple leaf wood cutouts in my stash. Now this, I must have had these for 20 years. And they were in my stash, so I grabbed my stencil butters, which are pearlized colors, and I'm mixing some yellow, some red, some orange on them to colorize them. That gives a little bit of a sheen. And then I'm edging them with black. And I'm going to glue them on. Now my goal here is to make a hanger, not use a coaster. If you were making these into coasters, you wouldn't want something 3D. So you could use a sticker, or you could use a stamp and then colorize it and glue that on. And I'm just alternating the sides of it because I'm going to make this hanging top to bottom, up and down. So before I string them together, I want to varnish them because once the string's there, I have to work around that. So here I'm using Liquitex Gloss. I decided I want these vibrant colors to really be vibrant. I want them to be glossy, so I'm giving it a coat of gloss varnish. You could use polyvine varnish here if that's what you have. You can use polyacrylic Minwax, which is often what I use, but this is what I have here. So that's what I used. That was my decision making. So we have all 4 letters for fall, and I'm going to tie them up so I make a hanging. And it doesn't quite fit on screen, and I'm going to use the jute to hang them. But first, let's talk about other ways that you could use this. I could use this as coasters. If I was doing coasters, I would do it on the wood because I want this to be permanent. And then I would use this polyvine. This polyvine varnish, which you can get at NinnysNapkins, is heat resistant. when you put a hot coffee cup on it, you don't want it to stick. But I wouldn't put the maple leaf, 3D maple leaf on it if it was a coaster. I could make this as a banner going side to side where I string either the jute or some ribbon through the top and it hangs that way. So then I would only punch the holes at the top. I wouldn't have any on the bottom. Another way is to use these tiles on a larger piece. This is a 10 by 10 square, and I could use the fall word. I could do it this way. I would put some color, some texture on the background and glue this down, and it would make more of a picture. You can also play with different sizes. This is a wooden box frame, and you can alternate them. I like the way this looks, even if they're over the edge. Again, I would add color and texture to the background, some modeling paste, and make it into a whole display. And if you have more letters, you want a bigger canvas. You could even glue it onto canvas. Now, you could also turn these into fridge magnets. You could have put one sentiment on each. Forget the letters on it. You could put a sentiment on it, some texture paste, and then put the magnets and have it as a fridge magnets. These are ones I got at Dollar Tree, and I put one in each corner. Or I could put the magnets on all four of them and hang 4 magnets spelling out fall or joy or Noel. So I hope that gives you ideas for ways to use these cardboard coasters in your art. So now we are going to string them up. Now this took me a little time to figure out the best way or easiest way to do this. I wanted a little space in between each letters. I did want it lined up. Now you could use wire, you could use hemp cord, you could use ribbon. I just like the look of the jute. So I'm putting that in, and then I struggled a bit with making how to get this even on both sides because it moved. And then I thought, what if I tape them down? So I taped them down, spaced in there, and then it was a simple left over right and right over left and tie a knot. And I didn't pull it extra tight until I knew that the spacing was right with everything. And this really worked, being able to tape it down. Be careful when you're pulling off the tape because you don't want it to rip up any of your hard work. But everything is sealed and completely dry at this point. So then I'm moving on, and I started at the bottom and I'm working my way up. I want the knot to be on the top, not on the back, because if it's on the back, when it's on the wall, it's going to interfere with it lying flat against the wall. You could tie a bow if that's the look you like. I just wanted it very super simple. I wanted something to hang them together, to tie them all together, but without really adding to it or distracting from the beautiful colors of the background and the letters. So here I'm adding the A to it and taping it down. Working on making sure that spacing is roughly the same. I'm not using any measuring here. I'm eyeballing it. And then left over right, pull tight, right over left. And I've allowed myself enough cord or jute to easily do that. And then I'm going to add. And when you hang them, the weight pulls it down, and they do, so when you're judging if it's good enough, hold it up and down to determine that. And then we're going to attach the F to the all. Now you could have added texture paste to it. I went fairly simple because I just love the colors. And quite honestly, you don't have to add a gazillion different elements. Sometimes simple is better. Taping down the one, adjusting the distance here, and then taping down the F in place. I'll put links to the other videos that I've created some fall decor items. If you're interested in getting some other ideas and inspiration. Now remember at the beginning of the video when I said do your hole punching at the beginning so that it's easier, you're not going through as many layers. You're going to see why. So I'm just tightening the knots. Now would be the time, if it's something wasn't hanging properly, you could untie the knot and readjust, and I'm cutting off the excess. You could add a little dab of glue on the knots just to make sure that it holds. Now I forgot to punch a hole at the top to be able to hang it on a wall. So I'm marking the center and I'm using the hole punch, and because I'm going through layers of matte medium, the napkin, and the letter F, it isn't that easy. And I'm having a harder time, and I went a little too close to the edge. It could have been disastrous. It wasn't, but you know what? Learn from my mistake and punch the hole first. Save yourself any hassles. So it was showing a lot of white, so I had to get in there and paint it orange so that you didn't see the white, because that was just not going with what I had. And here's the finished product. It hangs on the wall. It goes with my other fall decor. It's inexpensive. Uses stuff that's in your stash. And you know what? It looks great. Love to see what you do using this idea. If you create using cardboard coasters or take ideas out of this, be sure to tag me on Instagram or in my Facebook group, Mixed Media Creations. Until next time, go get creative.